just a rock star, creative person, amazing, and I'm not going to tell you about his idea because then I'll get in a lot of trouble with him. But he's been trying to do this idea on the web for about 2 years, and he got fired out of 10k and 40k, right? Didn't he? The judges said, "This guy's a fruitcake. Look at his proposal. This is just ridiculous. It's never going to work." And I've met him a few times, and I said to Terry Allen, who was then running our incubator, "There's something here with this guy. He's bloody creative. He's producing TV commercials in London, living in Auckland. He's got 3 other businesses on the go. None of them are really making money, but it's just something about it. He's a rock star. So why don't we just bring him in? He doesn't have to pay anything for the next 6 months, and let's kind of just see if we can help him raise some money." And he was just about to sign the deal for the 150k to come in, and he leaned over to one of the other startups and he said, "Why does it feel that I'm being screwed? You know?" And the guy goes, "Mate, who else is going to give you any money? You've got somebody who actually values your idea and is prepared to put some money in it. You're probably not going to make lots of money on this company, but it might be the one after or the one after. Treat this as a journey and, take all the experiences that you learn and apply that. You might get lucky on this one." And so the point I was really making about that is he tried for 2 years and nobody had listened to him. And for 2 years, actually probably 5 years of his emotional life, he poured into this idea. To be told that his business was worth his idea was worth $350,000 was slightly humbling and concerning, especially when he saw a transaction for a similar idea that sold for $390 million 2 weeks before. But he wasn't living in Silicon Valley. He wasn't a startup entrepreneur who'd done 5 startups and exited 4 of them. And he was living in Auckland, New Zealand, and nobody else was going to give him money because most of the people thought he was a fruitcake. So,
take what you can get.
yeah, and he's brilliant. I'm pretty happy that we've got 7% of his business. I think it's pretty cool.
So that raises another question just around structuring deals and if you're in the ice house, how that works. So
Yep.
do you want to cover that off, and then we'll see if there's any questions here around funding and financing before we move on to other resources.
Yeah, I suppose I didn't cover that. An angel investor puts money into your business. The more early it is, the more likely they'll say, "I'll give you 100k, but I only give it to you in 20k lumps. 20k to do this. Once you've done that, you get another 20k. Once you've done that, maybe another 60, and then the final amount, another 20. So you will find people saying they want to give you milestone money. The reason for that is they don't know you from Adam. They're not sure that you can be successful. They might be prepared to take a punt, but they want to have some control over the use of that money. The way they will do that is normally say, set up a company, create 100 shares, and we're going to put in, say, 100k, and we want 100 shares back for that. So you had 100 shares for you and your founders, and now you got 100 shares for your investor. What I would say about angel investors generally, especially my angel investment group, we don't want control. Because if you have control, you have to work your ass off. We actually want the entrepreneur to be successful, so we're always looking for about 20 to 40% of the business. Because we want you, the entrepreneur, to be up all night, working all weekend for 10 years to make us money. So we can go and play golf, and relax and work our 3-day weeks. Because we've been entrepreneurs before, and it's hard. Why would you want to do that when you can get guys like you to do it? So
You're outside of your brief now.
Yeah. So the structure of it is, what would normally happen is if somebody is interested is that they'll give you a term sheet. And a term sheet is just a fancy document that says, we want to invest in your company this amount of money on these terms, and you sign your life away. It is not a legally binding contract, other than a couple of things. It'll say you're not allowed to go and talk to anybody else. and we've got 60 days, 90 days to finish the deal. And it might say, and you can't raise money at the next round without giving us the first chance. Because, hey, we backed you. So we want the chance at the next level. Within those 60 days, they'll sign a thing called a shareholders agreement, set up the company, they'll have 20%, you'll have 80%. And then the serious business starts when the cash hits the account. And, it's all about trying to build on the idea. It is a black art, that whole, what are the terms, what's the valuation, how does everything work out? A lot of us, when we did startups originally, would try and build this big, all of you guys would have done net present values, build all these great spreadsheets that say the business is worth this, that's a bunch of us, right? It's irrelevant for a startup. What I can tell you categorically is that if you have an idea, it'll be worth 200 to 500, a reasonable idea, 200 to 500 K in that area, maybe even 100. If you've got a prototype, add 100K. If you've taken it to market and it's got international potential, add another couple 100K. But, the law of science of startups and valuation says it's not about the opportunity in terms of how big it'll be. Right? It's just not about that. So, if you're doing net present value calculations about how valuable your business is, save your time and spend it more on the market.
So before we change tack slightly, any questions for Andy around funding and financing early stage businesses? Anything you want him to cover in more detail?
Yeah. Yep. So the question was, can you get angel investors, because you raised it as well with your idea, before does it go public, can you get angel investors to sign NDAs, which is non-disclosure agreements, confidentiality agreements? If they are a smart angel investor, they'll say no. The reason for that is, you said yourself, if they've got lots of people coming to them with ideas, it's not because they want to rip your idea off, right? It's because if they sign that and then you don't do a deal together, then they're prevented from something else coming along that they might want to do a deal with. What I tell a lot of people when they come into us at the Ice House and say, I said, I don't need to know your IP. I'm not interested. Tell me about the market opportunity and tell me how you're going to solve that. You get to know us a little bit better. Then, if we're going to go down and do the dancing path, then maybe later, then we can sign NDAs and those sorts of things. But I can understand why people get a bit protective about their idea, but the ultimate answer to all of you is just don't tell them what's the IP. Until you're a bit further down the track and you trust them. You shouldn't just be telling any old, wizzo, this is this is the unique idea. You've got to build trust with them and know that they're not going to rip you off or go and tell their mate and say, shit, let's go and do this ourselves, But invariably, a lot of people don't sign NDAs. It just shows that you are slightly misunderstanding of the whole process. Have you signed any NDAs, Ken, before? You don't. You just say no. Yeah. He's got money. He's got. Yeah. With shitloads. So afterwards.
Can you think of any examples where something idea might have been ripped off?
No. It does, but look at it this way, right? So our angel group, which is called Ice Angels, if we end up in a situation where you come in to see us and one of our guys rips off you, our whole reputation is screwed. So why would we do that? Because we want you to be working your ass off with our money. So it doesn't make any sense for us to do it. We have to be more careful as individuals. And it's not so much, you don't want to be hypersensitive about it, but you do. You just got to have sometimes you've got to give a little to get a little, and so openness generally, I think, is important. You go to Silicon Valley, right? the VC